I've been listening to you pretty regularly, Tara, and I'm pretty impressed with what you have to offer. And so I'm curious as to, in the moment when you're triggered, how do you find that space between stimulus and response?
I love that question because really, if we can, it's the gateway to freedom. So I'm
Mhm.
curious what you've noticed so far. What brings the question up for you? What happens for you when you get triggered?
I get really angry, and then oftentimes will say things I really don't mean. And so I've really been working on trying to find that space. And it generally happens most with my husband. And it's just the two of us and two rescue animals and COVID and I grew up in a highly dysfunctional family, so I struggle with how do I in that moment stop myself, take a breath, and and reign.
Yeah, yeah. So this is really one of the key relational places that we want to bring in our practice. It's that we get hijacked. I don't know a better language for it. We get hijacked, we get taken over by, fight, flight, freeze, anger, defend, and we forget the pathway back. We forget how to interrupt and come back to that kind witness that can see what's going on and can come up with a better way to respond. And I'm
Mhm.
curious for you, what has worked even a little bit for you thus far in terms of being able to break through that patterning?
I don't really find anything works that well. In the instant when Gordy triggers me, I struggle and I practice, meditation and deep breathing and um it's just like it happens and I'm after it happens I'm like, oh no, and then I feel badly about myself, that whole cycle begins.
Sure, sure. And have you and Gordy talked about it so you can, when you're in a calm place, identify your the dance that happens and when you both kind of lose it?
I think we haven't in the past, Tara, but I think we're both I think that's one of the gifts sometimes of COVID. I think issues you've had in your relationship before are becoming more paramount because you're together all day long.
That's right. That's
And
right.
so I feel like, especially in recent months, we both are really making more strides at recognizing.
Perfect.
Um,
Do you have any agreements around when you get triggered?
no,
So I'm going to respond on kind of two levels. And one is, as a couple, ways you can support each other in the process. And the other is how you can practice on your own. And we need
okay,
both. On the together level is for many couples, if there's a way that you can acknowledge that that it's spinning off and agree to do a pause together, that's very, very powerful. Just to say, if we could both have 15 minutes to not be together and walk, breathe, meditate, whatever, that is probably the most powerful thing you can do. And there's a lot of research on couples when they get ensnared, if they can have even a small break, they come back to their frontal cortex comes back online, and then what comes out is a lot more helpful. So that's if you can agree together to have some signals where the first one who catches that it's spinning off the rails, um, in some way, says, "We gotta halt, stop."
hmm
That's one level. In terms of you, it really helps to practice rain, which is a way of interrupting, um, on the sidelines. And we'll do it right now together, and this is an invitation for all of us, where wherever we know we get caught in reactivity, it's a chance for you to practice on the sidelines, so there's a little more of an alertness to what's going on and a little more choice on what to call in. Does that sound right for you?
Yep,
Okay, so we'll practice together, all of us. I think of this as meditation out loud, where Lisa, I'll invite you to let your attention go inward, but I might be asking you some questions. So just keep the attention inward as we practice.
sure.
And for each of you practicing with us, let your own situations be in the forefront so you can really um, let this be an opportunity to uh, deepen your capacity to choose differently next time. So take a moment, turning inward, take a few breaths so you can feel yourself right here in your body and just let the surroundings go for now. Just be right here. And you might bring to mind a recent time that you got triggered and the limbic brain took over, where you said something you regretted or where you just weren't able to come back to any sense of uh, sanity, inner freedom. You're just off balance. And let me know when you've got something in mind that happened recently.
I have something in mind.
Okay. And inwardly bring this situation up so that you can really reconnect with what's going on, seeing his face, remembering the words.
Well, I think from a feeling standpoint, what happens and happened in that moment is I feel unheard, powerless. Um, my needs aren't being met. In other words, I'm kind of being dismissed. I guess that's a
Okay.
good word.
Okay. So, what I'd like to invite you to do is the rain process, recognizing is the first step. And you're recognizing, oh, feeling, you know, upset, feeling dismissed, feeling unheard. And just take a moment to that you're naming this to yourself. You're recognizing, oh,
Mhm.
that's what's happening. And the A of rain is to allow it. And that means you're just letting those feelings be there just for now. You're just saying, okay, this is here. I often think of it like these are waves in the ocean and they belong in this moment. This is a natural occurrence given the past that you're feeling this. So you're just letting them be there for now and just nod if you can just let them be there. Is that okay?
Mhm. Yep.
And now investigate means that you, within yourself now, let yourself get it more in touch with what it's like when you feel dismissed, when you feel not heard. What's the feeling that comes up? What are you aware of in your body?
I get very defensive because there is a high degree of shame that I associate with it, and a familiar feeling from my childhood, of just not being heard.
Yeah. So how about right now, just sensing the shame and the familiar young place that wasn't heard and letting yourself be with that for a moment. And you might even put your hand gently on your heart. And that's a kind of like you're acknowledging what's going on that's painful. And you're keeping yourself company right now. And you're listening to your own self. You're listening. You're listening to that young place that feels shame and not listened to and not maybe mattering enough to be listened to. And just take some moments of quietness where you are listening and acknowledging the presence of that younger part. And just notice what happens when you're paying attention like that, when you're really listening to your own being. And just tell me what you notice in a few moments.
Well, I noticed immediately, Tara, that tears come to my eyes, and I feel a sense of sadness, and at the same time, I feel a huge amount of compassion.
Yeah. Then sense what would you like in this moment and let it be right here and now. What is it you most from your most compassionate heart want to offer this younger part of you? What are the words? What's the communication, the energy you most want to offer?
I would say just to be loved and accepted and recognized.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, what happens if in the quietness now, your hand's still on your heart and that just the touch is very tender, that you're kind of offering that love and that care and that acceptance to that younger place and authentically authentically offering that, saying you're loved, you're accepted, feel this love, feel this acceptance, and taking your time now, go slow, so that whatever words you send to her of care, you can then repeat it from even a more sincere and tender place, even more, like really meaning it, really wishing for her to feel loved. Letting me know what you sense is happening, what you're aware of.
Well, I feel like my tears have gone more to joy, and that I feel kind of this big smile inside my body.
Mm. Let that joy be all that it is. Just sense how big that joy wants to be for a moment. Like let it fill your body, space around you. Just give it permission because it sounds like that young place also has a tremendous joy to bring when she feels loved. And just let me know what you notice.
I think what I noticed more than anything, Tara, is that the bar of suffering, has eased and in many senses gone away.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what happens when suffering eases, in its place comes aliveness in some form, in some form. And that's more who you really are. You are that aliveness, but there was a cloud blocking it. And here's the thing, if you want to sense what you can take away, is that you have a pathway to healing. You can feel that. I can sense you know that. What'll happen is if you keep practicing what we're doing, it'll become more available to you. It completely disappears in the moment when you're triggered because then you're back in that small young self. But if on the sidelines you practice this, and so you get really used to sending a message to that place, you will have more access when you're actually triggered to say, wait a minute, pause. Okay, I need a little time out. I need to resource myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's like anything else, right? Yoga or anything you take up, practice, practice makes perfect.
It's
So
actually
that,
true.
yeah.
It's true, and you can see it, cognitive scientists can see it in terms of our neuronal pathways. The more times you send a message like that, the more the pathways in your brain actually get stronger towards feeling at home in yourself. Yeah.
Well, I just really want to thank you, Tara, for just really making the world a better place through your wisdom. So
Oh,
thank you.
thank you for your courage and coming forward, and welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, blessings, dear.